everybody, Jamie here, Enigmatic Pneumatics. As you can see with the tree behind me and a couple of gifts here that it's almost Christmas time. And I've got a video coming up right now of Jed and his gal, who you might know as Into the Mystery 13. They were the van build, and I got a great interview of them that's coming right up. But before that, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Rick Copeland, who I met a year ago at the RTR, and he's not going to be with us much longer. And I just want to say, Rick, it was great meeting you. As you can see, I'm wearing a bracelet that he made for me. I wear it. You can look at my old videos. It's in all the old videos from the last year. He made a bunch of these for people. And, you know, his life serves as a reminder to me that we just never know what's in store for us or how much time we have. And so it's important to live life to its fullest. So, Rick, it was an honor to meet you. And with that, let's take a look at the video of Into the Mystery 13. Let's take a look.
Rolling.
Hey everybody, Jamie here, Enigmatic Pneumatics, and we're here at the van build party, and you just never know who might show up. And here we have a couple of folks that you might recognize from the web. I know Jed's got a YouTube channel where he lived in an Astro van for a long time, living the traveling lifestyle, and Evie is here with us. She has her own channel too. So for those of you who've never met him, let's get to know him a little bit. Tell us about yourself, Jed.
So I am Jed. I've been living in a van for about 2 years now, give or take. It's kind of hard to tell at this point how long it's been. Actually started on a motorcycle, an R6, and then moved to the Astro and did that for a couple years, and that was a blast. And then I met her, and we needed something bigger. The Astro just would not cut it for 2 people. And this thing's barely cutting it for 2 people, but I think we're making it work. So that's pretty much it for that.
I'm Evie. I'm originally from Russia, and I've been traveling all my life, but plane. And it was getting a little bit too expensive, so I started looking into van life. So I've been living this lifestyle on and off for almost 2 years. I started in a minivan, and then I did a little bit in my SUV. And then after that, I took a break and I started looking to buy a van, and that's when I met Jed. And we got this little beauty over here. And we've been traveling together in this van for about 3 months now.
Yeah. Longer than that.
Or yeah, maybe longer now. We'll lose track of time.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're leaving a lot of stuff out. What happened? You are a young guy. Obviously, you're not of retirement age to be drawing Social Security. Mm-hmm. What happened where one day you weren't living in a van and then you are living in a van? What was the thought process? What inspired you to start living this way? We'll talk over the engines a little bit. There's a main thoroughfare here. We're out in the desert.
Yeah, all kinds of motorcycles. So I was out riding. I was in college, and I was doing that whole thing, just going to school all the time and paying rent, doing the apartment thing, and seeing how much money I was spending towards rent and how little time I actually spent there. And I'd go out on the weekends riding my motorcycle, and I'd realize, you know, I felt so free and alive when I was somewhere I've never been. And it was part just being on a motorcycle and part being somewhere I've never been. So I started taking longer and longer trips on the weekends, and then when I get breaks from school, I'd go on longer trips. I just realized that being so far out of my comfort zone, so far out of what I thought was normal, just made me feel so alive. And so I tried to ride from Portland, Oregon to New Orleans and didn't make it. It was too uncomfortable on the R6 to ride for a long time.
What's our R6?
It's a crotch rocket. It's a sport bike.
So then you sit down.
Yeah, you're leaned over all the way, and it's fast, and it's hard to go the speed limit most of the time.
Hard to go long distances because of the body position?
Yeah, well you're hunched over like this, and then your knees are up like this, so it's not comfortable at all. And then trying to find a place to sleep every night without having any kind of shelter is really hard too. So I'd have to, you know, tent camp, or I actually got a hammock, and I realized that I couldn't sleep in hammocks on the trip because I'm a side sleeper. So it was kind of a terrible thing. It was really hard to sleep every night, and I had to find camping, and then I was exposed to the elements, and I wasn't used to that. You know, it could rain on me at any time. And all my stuff was vulnerable because it was all on saddlebags out on the bike, so anybody could just come by and steal all my stuff at any time. So that made me kind of nervous to like go to a town and explore and stuff. And I ended up meeting a couple in Colorado outside of Durango, and they were living out of a minivan. I was like, oh man, that's the answer. You know, a van is perfect because you can go wherever you want. You can keep all your stuff secure in it, you know, for the most part. And you can sleep pretty much anywhere. These people were telling me they'd sleep at Walmarts, they'd sleep on the side of streets, they'd go camping in it, and they could just go anywhere in it. So that seemed like the answer. So I went back, and I actually lost my apartment because I was planning to just stay in New Orleans. So I moved in with my parents for a while and sold the bike and got the Astro van and started building it out and went on a couple trips. And I didn't prepare for living in a van, so the van itself wasn't running very well, and the build out didn't really work, and I was starting to have anxiety and stuff. So I came back, rebuilt the van, learned how to think differently so I could control my anxiety more, and went back out, and then I just kind of stayed out, and I never really came back for very long except to rebuild.
What about college?
I just quit. I realized that all the richest people in the world, for the most part, haven't gone to college. I'm actually only like 2 terms away from graduating. They never went to college, they just taught themselves, and I was pretty good at teaching myself how to build a van and how to live out of a van and do this. Why couldn't I just teach myself to build businesses doing the things that I love? You know, why do I need to go to school for that? There's no college degree for being an entrepreneur. You know, so what's the point of this? I'm just gonna keep getting in debt, and then I gotta go out and try to find a job. So I gave up on the whole college idea.
Well, I don't want to jump ahead, but are you saying that you went to college for a while and decided that you would be an entrepreneur in ways that didn't require you to live in a specific location, such as through the internet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to piece it all together.
Yeah, that's part of it.
And you've been doing it 2 years. How's it working out?
Amazing. I love it. There's no way. I don't think I could ever go back. Sometimes I get a little worn out from the constant moving and the constant new stuff, and I need to just take a break and chill for a while. But I can easily do that in this, you know.
What's your family think about all this?
They think it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really supportive. They're kind of, my parents are kind of do whatever you want. It's cool, you know. Don't get into too much trouble, kind of deal. So they're cool with whatever I do.
Do you have an overall goal of what you're trying to achieve? Like you want to achieve certain goals with your business, maybe financially or whatever that goes? Certain goals like you want to visit different states? Everybody kind of feels, I feel like they want to see all 50 states, or they wanted this or they wanted that. Do you have any goals like that?
Oh yeah, I want to get to the point where I'm making 10 grand a month so I can put a good chunk of that in investing to set myself up for the future. And the rest of it so I can live the life I want to live. When I started out, I actually used credit cards. So I spent all my money on building the van, and then I had hardly any left to live off of. So I used credit cards, but I only lived on like $300, $400 a month, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. So I'd like to get to the point where if I drive by some cool place, like where you can rent kayaks or go bungee jumping or something, I can do that. If I see a cool restaurant, I can do that. I can do museums, I can travel all I want, and pretty much do what I want with my life, and set up enough fully automated online businesses and maybe even brick and mortar stores that are fully automated, you know, to where I can live the life I want to live and spend my time doing what I want to do.
Travel to fun places and do cool things when you get there.
Yeah.
Pretty much is the plan.
That's the short version.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Mind if we take a peek inside your van?
Absolutely not.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Go ahead.
Try to get back here. It's definitely tight quarters in here.
Yeah.
So the floor, we put some 1/2-inch foam insulation, and then we had a nice rubber mat. When we got this, it was totally bare in here. It was a cargo van, obviously. And then we put this vinyl floor on top, and this stuff has been great because it's waterproof, so we don't have to worry about spilling water or anything on it. And it's pretty durable too, so that worked great. And then we figured out the cabinet designs, and when we designed this thing, we designed it for a high top, so this counter is really high. You can't really cook on here very well right now, but we're actually going to get a high top in a couple weeks here, so it'll be much better. We measured this to the proper height where we can cook and clean, and it's at a good height for us. And then the bed is also really high for that reason too. It's really hard for the two of us to get in and out of bed when we're both in here right now, but with the high top, that'll be much easier too. So I guess the best way is just kind of start on this side, the kitchen setup. So it's all plywood and wood, and then we put this laminate countertop. You can see the texture here, and we designed this fold-out table so we can cook on top of that. And we use this induction cooktop right here, which is filthy. And this thing works great. It's so efficient, and because it doesn't use propane or butane, it doesn't release any humidity into the air. So we don't have any mold problems. I had it mold a couple times in my Astro and it made me really sick. So that was one of my priorities, was to avoid introducing any more condensation and moisture into the van. And then we have a sink up here. I don't know how well you'll be able to pick that up. We just took a salad bowl and put a strainer in the bottom. We got a bunch of dirty dishes in here right now. And then, yeah, it's on a pump, which you can see down here. It's all the way back there.
Over here.
And that goes into one of these containers down here, which is fresh water. and then it comes down through this trap, which is great because it doesn't let the smells or anything come from the gray water tank through, and just goes into this gray water tank, and then we just dump it when we need to and refill the other one when we need to do that. And that's pretty much it for that setup. And then on this side we have a I don't know how this will work. We have this pull-out garbage can, which is really convenient because you just pull it out and then take it out to dump it. And we have a little pull-out in here we use for like silverware and stuff, and up here is more storage. So that's worked out really well. And Evie took I'll show that in a second. Thank you. Evie took some magnets. We were having trouble keeping these doors closed, so the quick, easy solution was to put some metal plates and neodymium, is that how you say it? Magnets on here. So those work great to keep it closed. And one thing I forgot to mention on the sink here is this pulls out all the way, so we can actually take this outside and shower with it if we want to. But we've got another solution for showering that we use more often, because this only holds like 6 gallons of water, I think 6. And oh, and one other thing, we've got a switch up here for the pump. This pump actually, it turns on when it loses pressure, so it'll turn on that way. But we thought just in case something happens where it's just pumping water where we don't want to, we installed the switch so you can turn it on and off whenever. And there's another switch up here for lights, which isn't wired yet. And then on this side, we built these cabinets with this big section in the middle to sit on. This is like a bench, and to kind of break up the monotony of just storage. And I've got my guitar amp built in here. That's the head, and this is the guitar speaker. And then the bass amp. I kind of wish we had not done this, because you can't remove them, and they take up a lot of space, and I don't really play as much as I thought I would. But I guess it is pretty cool. And then on this side we have a Dometic toilet, which is a cassette toilet. You can just dump in a like a gas station or campground toilet, any toilet, and that works well for her. That's
hang on a second.
Mainly hers.
Do you have videos of how you did all this on your channel?
Yeah, I've actually got an entire playlist of every step we took on this fan, and 2, maybe 3 times with the Astro too.
Yeah.
So folks can go to your channel and find build videos and put playlists to see if they want to figure out how to do a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I've got entire
on both of our channels too.
Entire videos, the whole thing. Yeah, hers too, Evie Nova. So up here is just clothes. Then we have little storage boxes up here. These are from IKEA, and those work well. And then we've got a big closet in here where we keep guitars, and right now a couple other little odds and ends. And pretty much the same thing on this side. Back here is our solar controller. You might be able to see that better from the back if you zoom in, I think. Okay. Maybe we'll go back there after this.
Can you hand her the camera?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, you hand him the camera.
Okay, that's well, I'll hand her, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. So on this side, this is our solar controller. We have a Deep Blue Sea fuse panel. This is an MPPT controller. It's just much more efficient, and it just works great. I had a cheap PWM? Thank you. Cheap PWM before, and it wasn't nearly as efficient as this. This also has a bunch of information on it, how much voltage my battery is at, how much we're pulling in, on and on. And this is the remote to our inverter, and we have a 2,000 watt pure sine wave inverter under the bed, and a 100 amp hour lithium LiPo 4 battery, which I really like because you can draw it all the way down to 0 if you have to, versus the lead acid ones you can only get to, I think, like 80% on most. So even though it's only 100 amp hours, it's 4 or 5 times more or whatever than a lead acid, so it's pretty cool. They're expensive up front. It was like 800 bucks up front, but you can use it for so many more charge cycles than lead acid that it ends up being a lot cheaper. So we're happy about that. And then we have
different like ways of maintaining a lithium battery, have you found, or?
As far as how to charge it?
Just like I guess like maintaining the charge on it compared to like a lead acid battery. Is there like much of a difference, or?
I don't think there's any difference, no. It's got electronic things built into it so that it doesn't get like overcharged or undercharged or charged too fast or whatever. So it's got all kinds of safety things in it. It's pretty much just a plug and play thing. There's no real difference other than it lasts for forever, and it's small. It's only like, you can't really see it. It's back here, and it's all under a bunch of things, but it's like this big, and it's 35 pounds, and it's 100 amp hours. So comparing that to a lead acid, that's like, you know, this big and 100 pounds. It's pretty radical difference.
And it charges a lot quicker too.
It does charge quicker.
Yeah, it charges a lot quicker, and we charge it from our solar panel and the battery isolator. So if we run the van for like 10 to 15 minutes, it will charge it completely. Yeah, pretty much.
Something, as long as the RPMs are up,
Yeah.
yeah. You can't just idle it to charge it
Yeah.
like that, but if you're driving, it's quick.
Yeah.
It's really quick. Yeah, and we have a 100-watt monocrystalline solar panel on the roof. We want to get a second one because it's not, out here in the desert, it's great, but anywhere else, it's not really adequate. Other than that, we got some 12-volt lights all over the place. These are just temporarily installed because this whole roof is going to be gone soon. And fairy lights, we love these. They have really nice ambience and kind of warm, like candlelight feel to them. And 2 Maxxair fans up here. We use, a lot of time when it's hot out, we turn that one on to blow air down onto us, and this one to suck air out, which sucks from the air from back there and the front windows, so the entire van is moving air, which is really, really nice. And they also have a little thermostat on them, so you can, if it's cold at night, you can leave them off, and then once it warms up, they kick on and start moving air for you, which is amazing. Let's show what else.
Do you want to go in the back and open the back doors and show it from the back a little bit?
Yeah, you guys want to see the back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry if I hit you with this earlier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we also have, to get to the cabinets, we have a door in here as well. So if we're cooking on the outside, we can open this door and get to the food from here as well, if we want to. Yeah, so it opens in both ways.
Oh, and I didn't really talk about the paneling, which we did a little different on this fan. Most fans, they put the paneling, so there's like the wall, the metal wall, and there's the ribs to make them strong. But we put the paneling in between the ribs so that we'd have more room, especially in the back, and we just put a single sheet of, what's that stuff called?
It's like a thin layer of insulation.
Masonite?
I don't know, it's very thin foam insulation.
Oh, okay.
Like almost like yoga mat material, but very thin.
Okay.
Yeah, so we put that in between, and that's worked pretty well. I like the less insulation now. I'm still experimenting with it, but it seems to, when it gets hot, the heat goes out a lot faster. It doesn't hold the heat in nearly as well in the winter, but in the summer when it's hot, it seemed like when I had a ton of insulation in the Astro, I had like an inch all the way around, it would just hold that heat in for hours, even after the sun went down.
Well, do you guys live in a city or do you just travel?
We just travel.
Okay.
All full time.
And would you say that it's a 3-season van? You're not really planning on hunkering down in a winter environment for long periods?
No, definitely not. Or anywhere too hot. I mean, if we were going to be somewhere really hot or really cold, I think more insulation would definitely be the way to go. But in my experience, just traveling around, 40 at night to 70, 80 during the day, less insulation seems to be the way to go.
I hear you. I agree. Let's take a look at the back.
We actually built our bed frame. I'm gonna have stuff falling. We built our bed frame out of PVC pipes because we wanted something that was really light and but also strong. And I had a ton of people tell me it would never work, but I think the design that I did ended up working really well. It's ugly. It's not pretty. You got all these ugly pipes everywhere, but it's so light. You can pick this thing up with a finger. And for the top of it, you can't really see it here because I put this table here. But we did like, what is it, like 1/4 inch? No, that's, I don't know what size plywood that is. It's thick plywood.
11/38, I think, or something like that. It's something weird, yeah. And we just put the holes in there for airflow. Yeah. Which
seems to be working. I've never noticed any moisture under here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned that, the bed frame's ugly or whatever, but one thing I'll point out about using PVC is you can notice that there's not a lot of room being taken up by the frame, so he has more storage space.
Yes.
And you don't have to have any knowledge on how to weld to make PVC. You just head out there, get the pipes, get the fittings, get some glue, get a cutter. You could use a metal hacksaw if that's all you could afford, really cheap, or you could use, I would cut it with, they make PVC cutting tools. I would probably use my angle grinder with a metal cutting blade on it. But the thing about using this stuff is it's super strong. It's usually made for water service and it doesn't take up a lot of space, so he's got more room for storage this way.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That was one of our considerations in using this versus wood. The wood, you have to have it so much that it really
and as long as you cut it in like shorter pieces and do a lot of fittings, it makes it more stronger that way too. Like the more smaller pieces you have, the stronger it gets pretty much. And we've tested that thing, like, I mean, we had it for 6 months now.
What do you mean by you tested the bed exactly?
I had fun with that. And it never once moved. It's been super, super strong. Before that, we had a metal bed frame, and that thing was completely gone in a few months.
Yeah, it was a piece of crap.
Yeah, it was
just cheap Walmart metal bed frame.
Yeah.
It was garbage. So we have a series of storage containers under here, and this is one of them. You can kind of, if you get under there, you can kind of see how we put the thing together in square sections that, you know, you put the weight down and it's being distributed all over the place, so it's not like it's just one pipe is getting all the weight at one time.
Yeah, and then we have just black storage containers. We have 3 big ones for bigger stuff, and then we have the same ones but a lot smaller for smaller stuff, like my personal items, my pictures, or like important documents and stuff. And they all fit perfectly underneath there, and it's easy to get to for the most part. Yeah, so.
Where would you suggest people that want to start the traveling lifestyle visit? Where have you been that you would say, wow, man, if you're going to try doing this, you really ought to go to the Balloon Festival in New Mexico in the month of, you know, where would you recommend people visit?
Oh, it's a hard one.
I would definitely say stick to the west side, like west of the Rockies. Yeah, there's so much more camping out here, and the ability to go on, like, because the elevation changes temperatures, you can go uphill very easily or downhill very easily to change your temperature and find plenty of camping. And I haven't really run into like police problems, like knocking on my door at night on the West Coast. I've stayed out of California though, that might be different. As I have on the East Coast, it seems like they're more friendly to boondockers and travelers out here. What
places really knocked your socks off when you got there?
Valley of Fire and Death Valley.
Okay.
Those 2 places are pretty intense.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. What did you like about Death Valley?
The landscape is constantly changing, and it's constantly different from anything I've ever seen before. It's like being on a different planet.
Yeah. And then same with Valley of Fire. It's beautiful. It's in Nevada. It's just super close to Vegas. Like what, half an hour to an hour maybe, if that.
I think it's 45 minutes an hour.
Yeah, 45 minutes. And it's fairly unknown. I've never heard anybody talk about it or seen videos with it. But it's probably one of the most beautiful places I've seen since I've been traveling, not just in US, but in the world. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest advantage of all living this way over a conventional lifestyle?
It really depends on who you talk to, because everybody, I think, is going to get something different out of it. I think for a lot of people right now in America are kind of struggling with, you know, housing prices going up and wages not matching that at the same you know, level. So I think not having to pay rent and being able to either use that money to pay off debt or invest or spend your time doing other things or not work as much is just an amazing thing. I think that's probably what most people will get out of it the most.
Would you guys both say that your stress level has gone down since you started this lifestyle, or has it gone up because you've got to worry about knocks on your van?
I'd say it's gone up for me.
It's gone down for me, actually. I've been a lot less stressed because I don't have to worry about paying rent or paying mortgage or paying electricity bill or making sure I make enough money to pay for all those bills. I mean, I had a very good job before I quit where I made enough, but you know, I can be fired tomorrow, right? And then I have all of those bills to pay. So I constantly had to worry about that, and then I travel back to Russia every year to go see my family because my whole family is back in Russia, and that's expensive. So I constantly had to worry about making sure I make enough money to go that and help them with too. And since we live in the van, I don't have those bills anymore, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. You know, I still make money. I don't have to make as much money anymore because I don't have those bills. And if I do make as much money, then I just have that much more money to go back home and help my family or go do things I always wanted to do. So
yeah, I guess my conscious stress, the things I think about and stress about are less, but the physical, like unconscious stress of constantly moving and going to a new place, that's like the kind of stress you don't really think about, where when you're just sitting, you know, in a house and then you're going to somewhere else familiar, there's no stress really involved in that. It's just normal, monotonous thing. But for me, when I'm constantly moving to new places, doing new things, meeting new people, there's like an underlying unconscious, like my body's adapting to that, my brain is adapting to that. So that's a form of stress, and that's what kind of there's less structure to it, you know what I mean? Is that, I'm having trouble explaining this, but...
Yeah, it's not a structured lifestyle, so it could be stressful in that regard, because a lot of people are used to the structure, they're used to doing the same thing every day and having the schedule, and once you get out of that, it is stressful for your body and your mind. So in that regard, it might be more stressful, but overall, I think it's less stressful because you have less things to worry about. So.
Sure. If you guys were to offer one piece of advice to somebody that might be watching this and thinking about a traveling lifestyle, what would that piece of advice be?
Try it out first. Just rent a van if you don't have a vehicle. You know, if you have like a Honda Civic or something, it might be a little tough. But if you have, you know, an SUV or something bigger you could sleep in, I'd say just go for a month and test it out and see what you think. But if it doesn't work out the way you think and you still want to do it, don't give up on it. You know, take a second chance or a second, you know, a second run like I did. You might end up absolutely loving it. I think it would be foolish to sell everything you own and buy a van or an RV or something and just head out without ever having actually tried it and just going off of, you know, what you see on YouTube or, you know, read on websites or whatever. But yeah, I think trying it would probably be mine.
Yeah, for me, just do it. Yeah, just go out there and do it. There's never going to be the perfect time to do it. Or, you know, like, I think a lot of people waiting for the perfect time. It's like, oh, as soon as I do this or as soon as I reach this age or this stage in my life, yeah, there's never going to be a perfect time. So if you really want to do it and been thinking about it, just go out there and do it and try it out first if you want, you know, if...
That's true.
Yeah, just try it out and see it's for you and go from there. But just getting out there and getting your feet wet, you know, it's going to really push, you know, many people to... just do it.
Yeah, I think having some kind of income set up where you know you're gonna have money coming in, you know, like the minimum that it's gonna cost to survive, which is only like $200 or $300 a month, like in a van, unless you have other bills or something, you know, that might change. But if you have some kind of income set up where you know you can make money, you know that won't be a concern, you know you're not gonna be stranded out in the middle of the desert or something without gas and money and food or anything. Yeah. You know, I think that will make most people way more confident and make the experience much better. Yeah. You know, when you don't know if you're going to be able to eat, you're going into panic mode. Yeah. You know, you got to figure something out. That's not fun for anybody. Yeah. So.
Well, I don't watch a lot of YouTube channels, but I had heard about yours, and when I heard you were here, I was happy to meet you, and you seem like a cool guy. Both you guys seem like real cool people, and so I'm thankful you came to the event, and I hope we run into each other again down the road. Any last words to anyone that might be watching? Anybody you want to say hi to or go check out my YouTube channel or Facebook or website? What would you say?
I just think it's so cool what you're doing here. You know, you said you facilitated this whole thing for all these people to come together, and it's kind of changed. I don't want to say like changed my life, but it's changed my perspective on the whole community, being able to meet so many people that are a part of it in one place at one time and see how everybody's helping each other out and everybody is so friendly. Every single person I've met here has been like the coolest person I've ever met, you know what I mean? So it's a really cool thing you're doing here, and I'm honored to be here and meet you and everything else. So
very good to meet you in person.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for organizing this as well. It's amazing. It's my first time to any kind of big event like this, and to be able to see there are so many people who are doing this lifestyle is amazing, and to be able to talk to people who have similar interests and doing, you know, we're doing all the same thing, and seeing so many cool rigs and hearing so many different stories of how people got here is amazing. Yeah, so thank you so much, and yeah, don't forget to check out our channels as well. We have some cool videos. One last time, those names. I'm Evie, and my channel is Evie Nova. Yeah.
And I'm Jed, Into the Mystery 13.
Yeah.
And I'm Jamie with Enigmatic Nomadics, and you'll be mad at me for making Vanessa hold the camera. You'd say, why wasn't she in front of the camera? There's Vanessa the whole time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you on the next upload. See ya.